Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Konrad Gorlinski. Well, on the request of President Andrzej Duda, Poland has introduced a state of emergency along its border with Belarus. The measure will make it easier for the Polish border guard and Polish soldiers to protect the stretch of the border that has seen large numbers of attempted crossings by illegal migrants. The European Union has accused Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko of using migrants from countries like Iraq and Afghanistan as part of a hybrid war designed to put pressure on the bloc over sanctions it has imposed on Minsk. Poland has been trying to improve security along its frontier by building a fence and deploying troops. The situation on the border with Belarus is difficult and dangerous. Presidential spokesman Błażej Spychalski stated. Today, we as Poland, being responsible for our own borders, but also for the borders of the European Union, must take measures to ensure the security of Poland and the EU, and this is the reason for the President's decision. The Polish border guard have stated that there have been around 3,500 attempts to illegally cross the border in August alone, 2,500 of which it had managed to thwart. The government has also said it needs to be prepared for provocations that could transpire during military exercises organized by the Russian army that will be held on Russian and Belarusian territory near Poland from September 10th. The second reason for bringing in the state of emergency in this area is the military exercises that will take place on the east side of our border. The state of emergency, which will restrict the movement of people and ban mass gatherings, is to apply to a 3-kilometer deep swathe along the border for 30 days. Yes, we are under attack, and the security of our state and our citizens is under threat. Our actions are adequate to the scale of the threat. Liberal NGOs have sharply criticized the government's approach to the issue and have said Warsaw must provide more humanitarian aid to migrants stranded on the border. Italy has introduced stricter Green Pass restrictions. From now on, people will be required to show their vaccination passports to be allowed to travel on trains, planes, ships, and intercity coaches. People opposing the stricter restrictions have announced that they will protest by blocking train stations all across the country. The Green Pass is a digital or paper certificate that shows if someone has received at least one COVID-19 vaccine dose, has tested negative, or recently recovered from the virus. Mario Draghi's government adopted the pass to try to accelerate vaccinations in the face of the Delta variant. But it has triggered protests by some Italians who say it tramples on freedoms and is an indirect way of making vaccines obligatory. Once on board, tickets and certificates are checked, and in case of false declarations, the passenger is transferred to a dedicated train car, then forced to get off the train at the first station and pay a fine which varies from 400 to even 1,000 euros. The measure for the moment concerns only interregional and international trains, but some, like Alessia Colombi, would like the measure to be applied to all trains. This measure is right. Indeed, it should apply to regional trains. We've also traveled on a regional train. I kept my distance, but why not apply the Green Pass to those trains as well? We're always close to others when we get on and off the train. I can't know if a person is vaccinated or not. I'm vaccinated. We've all had the vaccine in my family. But what if I get COVID from others? They're right to ask for a Green Pass. If you don't want to get the vaccine, then stay at home and don't travel. Not everyone is happy, though. No Pass protesters have promised to block stations across 54 Italian cities. They're against the mandatory requirement to show the certificate that vaccinations had been taken. Mexican immigration agents and security forces have stepped up their efforts to halt the progress of a migrant caravan numbering nearly 1,000 Central American and Caribbean migrants heading toward Mexico City from southern Mexico. The authorities want to keep the migrants in the south, far away from the Mexico-U.S. border. But some NGOs claim that the Mexican government is violating the migrants' human rights in the process. Entire migrant families, including many with young children, have arrived at 2 towns in the southern state of Chiapas. Mapastepec and Escuintla, after passing through the Mexican town of Tapachula near the Guatemalan border. The number of children seeking to cross Mexico to get to the United States has risen dramatically since the start of this year, as many families leave their countries due to poverty, violence, and natural disasters. Troops from Mexico's National Guard and agents from the National Migration Institute, the INM, sought to break up the latest caravan, detaining some migrants, including minors. Before coming here, I went through 10 countries. I spent a lot of money. Now I have nothing. I have no family here. I have nothing. I came walking here on foot because my daughter is sick. She has the flu. She has everything. It is very hard for us to come walking. So now my feet are very, very, very sensitive, injured. I felt a little bad here because this is humiliating. It's discrimination. The Mexican government has deployed more troops to its border with Guatemala in a bid to reduce the flow of migrants in recent months, pressured by U.S. officials to take strong action. Video footage showed altercations between INM agents and some migrants amid efforts by the administration of President Andrzej Manuel López Obrador to contain what he has called irregular immigration.
No importa.
Representatives of progressive NGOs argue that the Mexican government is acting against international norms. It does not matter what your mobility status is or your nationality. If you are on Mexican territory, your rights must be guaranteed, and if there is a need for some type of control or use of force, it must be within the framework of international standards. Therefore, the concern, not only ours, to verify it through videos, to verify a disproportionate use of force. According to INM data, more than 35,000 migrant minors have been identified by officials so far this year, a threefold increase from the same period last year. About a third were traveling alone, the data showed, and most came from Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. And China has decided to introduce new rules that will limit online gaming time for minors to just 3 hours per week. Investors, however, are worried about the long-term impact the new law could have on the industry. Chinese authorities argue the restrictions for under-18s are necessary to stop growing gaming addiction. The People's Daily, the ruling Communist Party's official newspaper, said the government had to be ruthless as online games impair normal study life and the physical and mental health of teenagers. The curbs are part of Beijing's efforts to promote the primacy of socialism and strengthen controls over a society it now views as having become too lax after years of laissez-faire growth for the tech sector and other industries. But some gamers have a different view. Different people have different levels of self-control, and they might have different kinds of supervision from parents and different cares within the society. People also have to consider complicated factors, such as the education background from school and family. This is not something they can simply control. People in the end can always play on another account or buy accounts from adults. The new rules place the onus of implementation on the gaming industry and are not laws per se that would punish individuals for infractions. There is no need for China to boycott games in this way, because the internet companies here are developing and gaming is part of it. I think if China resists it too much, it will restrain the development of talents. Kids can often circumvent the rules that require the use of their real names and national identification numbers when signing into games by using the login details of adult family members. Thanks for tuning in this evening. Have a wonderful night.